Welcome to the ultimate step-by-step in-depth guide to leveling in Project Zomboid, the much requested remake and upgrade of my old video. Here we'll have a proper encyclopedia of leveling that you can always come back to. If you like my content, consider subscribing or even joining as a channel member, and let's get right into it. Before we get into details about any of these skills, I need to mention some vital information that you need before starting your leveling journey. First of all, most skills in the game have books that provide you with an XP bonus when read. They are always in series of 5, each book boosting 2 skill levels, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and so on. Keep in mind, you cannot read a book that boosts a skill level that's inaccessible to you. So, for example, at level 5 and below, you are unable to read the book that helps with levels 7 and 8. The books provide bonuses depending on their level. 3 times XP for book 1, 5 times for book 2, 8 times for book 3, 12 times for book 4, and 16 times for book 5. Secondly, this is something very important for B41 players. Dismantling doesn't provide you with XP anymore, for the most part, with notable exceptions of car wrecks, appliances, and electronics. Next thing, starting levels affect your XP gain drastically. Let's use a carpentry example. Building a wooden floor. Yes, I'm aware there's a small caveat to this, but it's not important for this example. Normally, building this floor gives you 10 XP. And that is what you will receive if you start with level 1 in Carpentry. At level 0, you will get only 2.5 XP, 4 times less. At level 2 it's 13.3 XP, and at level 3 it's 16.6. That's because the values for starting levels 0, 1, 2 and 3 are 25, 100, 133 and 166% XP respectively. Anything higher than level 3 will also give 166%. Another way of reading this, which might be easier to understand, is that at level 1 you gain 4 times XP compared to level 0, with level 2 being 5.3 times and level 3 and above being 6.6 times. You cannot otherwise obtain this bonus nor change it in any way, so if you plan on maxing out a certain skill, I greatly recommend getting at least one starting level for that quadruple XP. Another thing is that there is a couple of traits that affect leveling. In general, I always take Fast Learner for plus 30% XP no matter my build, and you should never ever take Slow Learner, which gives minus 30%. 2 other traits that change XP gain are Reluctant Fighter with minus 25% XP gain for weapons skills specifically, including maintenance and aiming, and Crafty with plus 30% XP gain for crafting skills only. Crafty and Fast Learner are mutually exclusive though, so rarely will you ever take the first one. Reluctant Fighter combined with Fast Learner gives you minus 2.5% XP for weapons skills, so if you find yourself lacking points and don't plan on fighting much, you might as well take it, as the negative effects are negligible. Now, just so you can see the scale, at level 0 Carpentry, with no bonuses whatsoever, your XP gain for building a wooden floor is 2.5 XP. At level 2, with Fast Learner and Carpentry Volume 2 Red, you're going to get 86.5 XP. Yes, you've heard that correctly, 86.5. Without the book, you'll get 17.3. With the book, but without Fast Learner, you'll get 66.4. But if you just read the book and haven't got the starting levels at level 0, you'll gain just 7.5 XP. One more thing, you can watch Life and Living TV shows to get XP in certain skills. Carpentry, cooking, fishing and so on. Generally, the first 8 days you can watch cooking at 6 AM, carpentry at 12 AM, and an additional show at 6 PM is present on days 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7, with fishing, agriculture, fishing again, foraging, trapping and foraging again, respectively. I'll just put a cheat sheet on the screen. Unless you change your sandbox options, the maximum level at which you can get XP from TV is 3. Same thing goes for VHS, which are videotapes you can watch on TV at any given time, granted the TV is powered. However, VHS provide you with XP for many more skills than just the ones from Life and Living. So, summarizing. The most important part of fast leveling is having at least one starting level in the skill if you can get it, which is where many occupations and trades come in. If you want a gun build, go police officer or take target shooter. If you want an axe build, go for a lumberjack or firefighter, etc. If you're unsure on what to choose, you can check out my related tier lists. Second most important thing is reading the skill books, and third is taking the fast learner trait. And because there's a level limit, which by default is set to 3, you usually want to first exhaust XP from TV and VHS before spending any resources, with some exceptions we'll get to later on. Alright, with this lengthy explanation out of the way, let's get into each skill's method of leveling. Starting with aiming. In general, you gain aiming XP by successfully landing your shots. What this means is that for leveling aiming, certain guns are simply a bad choice. That goes for M16 and a couple of other weapons. If you care about ammo and such and thus don't want to use your good ammo, you can decide to use a pistol for leveling. If you don't mind spending resources on leveling though, then you should use shotguns instead. What you want to do is keep a very small distance between you and your targets and keep aiming for the heads. You can use fences to make the zombies easier targets. Remember, weapons gain accuracy based on your aiming level. Most weapons start at 50%, but shotguns have it at 65-70% base, making them a much better early game weapon, especially for leveling. It's also important to remember that weapon condition scales with aiming levels, so save your M16 for the endgame. Reloading. I'll be quite honest, I don't think this can be leveled up fast. However, it can certainly be leveled up safely and with purpose. What you want to get is a bunch of empty magazines that need to be loaded, and just find a nice spot to sit in and insert rounds until you fill everything up. This gives reloading XP, and you might as well do it now rather than later when you need to reload a gun but all of your M16 mags aren't loaded. When you run out of mags to fill, simply insert and eject a magazine from literally any weapon. Over time, you'll get there. Remember to take breaks every 2 levels to read a book for an XP boost. Maintenance. Smack a garage door with a crowbar. Yes, that's it. Because crowbar has a very low chance of lowering its durability, it's the best choice. Maintenance XP is gained when you hit something with your weapon and the durability doesn't decrease. That makes the crowbar the easiest maintenance leveling tool. Melee skills. With the exception of Long Blade, none of them have a dedicated book series, so you don't have to worry about that. You level up by smacking zombies, it really isn't very complicated. I would recommend using high durability weapons so you can level up maintenance at the same time, so crowbar, firefighter axe, machete, hunting knife and garden fork being the meta choices for leveling. Though, obviously, it's not that easy to get your hands on a machete. Fitness and strength. Those two are really painful to grind, taking a long time. In general, if you want to level up both, the exercise you want to do is burpees. Otherwise, do push-ups for strength and squats for fitness. The main things to keep in mind. 1. Exercising causes muscle strain, which in turn causes pain. You want to keep alcohol or painkillers with you to keep exercising more. Otherwise, the game will prevent you from exercising further. 2. You want to keep a large surplus of protein when training strength for a massive plus 50% boost to leveling. Light-footed and sneaking. Stealth is best leveled by simply crouching within zombies' hearing and vision range. It is, in fact, possible to get multiple levels in those skills even on day 1, in Extinction for example, because of the sheer amount of zombies with great hearing. That's about it. It's fairly simple. Same goes for running. What you want to do is just run around. If you really care about this skill for some reason, then the firefighter profession works quite well. You can also consider fitness instructor or the runner trait, though neither are meta. Nimble. By many players considered to be the most important melee skill, it increases your mobility in combat stance. Thus, it is extremely useful. Generally, there is no good method of leveling it. You need to move around in combat stance. I recommend combining it with focus mode to level up your foraging along with Nimble, as you can use combat stance to freely move through trees and bushes. Take Gymnast, Burglar or Police Officer for starting levels if you don't want to wait ages for those. Foraging is leveled simply by walking around in focus mode or search mode, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, that's really just about it. There's no magic trick to speed this up. Just remember that you want to level up foraging at daytime with good weather. That gives you the best search radius, meaning more items found per minute, which is the source of XP. There is a couple of professions that give you increased search radius, and that does help. Those occupations being Park Ranger, Veteran, Lumberjack, Farmer and Fishing Guide. Unemployed, surprisingly, also starts with a small foraging radius bonus. Tracking is a dead skill, currently underdeveloped. You want to look for animal tracks in the search mode, but realistically, you are unlikely to ever need or get high levels. Hunter gives you +1 starting level, but that's about it. Trapping is leveled by catching animals in your traps. However, due to them requiring recipes, I greatly recommend you take the Hunter trait when making your character if you consider going for trapping. Technically, Park Ranger also works if you want. The best XP source is catching rabbits, and the best trap for that is the cage trap, which only requires wire and pliers. But box and crate traps work just fine. Same with snare traps if you want to use those. You want to use carrots or cabbages as bait, and the traps should preferably be placed deep in the forest. Fishing is leveled simply by, well, fishing. You want to get early levels with TV and VHS. After that, you want to maximize your fishing potential. You want to fish in dusk or dawn, in moderate temperature of about 15 to 30 degrees Celsius, 59 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, during rain, though clear weather is fine as well, just avoid wind and fog, keeping at least 9 tiles of distance between the shore and the bobber, using a proper fishing hook and casting the bobber at ripples at the water, whilst using worms as bait. If this sounds complicated, don't worry, you don't really have to keep track of all of this in the end. Simply going out for a fishing trip during the day doesn't really have any negative multipliers at play. Just remember to keep the area clear of zomboids so you don't become fish food. A cheat sheet for fishing will be shown on the screen as well. First aid is, till this day, the most useless skill in the game besides tracking. I honestly recommend you ignore it for the most part. But if you want a quick leveling method, well, just stand on glass and repeatedly use tweezers to pull shards out of your feet. Extremely painful, extremely effective, and very cheap. Is it worth it? Not really. But if you want to have that just in case you'd get a fracture, yeah, spending a couple minutes on this can save your life in the future. I don't know how this makes sense, but yeah. Animal care is leveled simply by interacting with animals. Remember to pet every animal type at least once per day for maximum efficiency. Oh my gosh, this sounds so dumb. Anyway, yeah, collect eggs, shear sheep, milk cows, whatever. If you want to make animals your main source of food, then I highly recommend the rancher occupation for starting with +4 animal care, as the only other way to start with any levels in it is farmer, which is garbage. Agriculture is a bit tricky to level as you can only gain XP from harvesting plants that you have planted. That basically means it's a big grind. I recommend using all the TV and VHS you can before even touching this for some additional help with farming. You can get a farm plot, harvest salty cabbages or something, and then replant with the seeds you got from that. Butchering is best leveled alongside animal care, fishing or trapping. You gain XP by butchering animals or fish, but you waste more meat if you're low level, so it's best to have an excess amount. A chicken farm is easily enough for that. There's no real guideline here, just butcher and you get XP. The more meat you harvest, the more experience you get. Alright, time for the complicated part, crafting skills. Starting with the hardest one, blacksmithing. Getting into details would make this video way too long, so I'll be concise. You can get more info through the guide that I linked in the description. Shout out to the guy who made it. Method 1 is a cheese strategy, you need a golden/silver sheet and simply forge it into coins and then melt them back into metal. Very coal intensive, not particularly resource heavy. Method 2 is faster and cheaper on coal, but it is complicated. Forge simple blades at level 0, small knives at level 1 and 2, long simple blades or masonry chisels at level 3, hatchet heads at level 4, door hinges or scissors at level 5, axe heads or simple short sword blades at level 6, short sword blades at level 7, crude sword blades at level 8, and doorknobs at level 9. It is incredibly important that you read skill books, and it is preferred that you take the blacksmith occupation or at least the blacksmith knowledge trait to save a lot of resources and time. Carpentry is extremely easy to level. Remember the wooden floors we talked about? Well, you need very few planks and nails to level the carpentry skill up to level 10, especially if you start as carpenter or with the handy trait. Simply build wooden floors. Believe it or not, this is the easiest and most efficient way of getting XP. Just remember to read the right books and you'll be at level 10 in no time. But if you don't need like 50 floors, which to be fair isn't a lot, so if you're going to build with level 10 carpentry, you'll probably want more than that. You can always just build walls and such, they give tremendous XP as well. If you remember, in the first part of the video, I mentioned TV and VHS and how you want to watch those first before leveling. Well, carpentry is easy enough that you can get away with ignoring those. Carving has a special resource efficient method which is pretty easy to do. Carve a sapling into a long stick for 5 XP, a long stick into small handles for 10 XP, small handles into spoons for 80 XP, and spoons into forks for 160 XP. Now, spoons require carving level 1 and forks carving level 2, so you might have to wait and carve saplings until you get the right level, unless you start with some. What you get is an incredible amount of XP, 235 out of a single sapling, which multiplied by books, levels, etc. easily gets in the thousands. You obtain saplings by simply cutting down trees. Don't worry if the first tree you cut down doesn't drop one, it's not a 100% chance. Cooking is fairly simple to level, but the XP is gained by, well, cooking, or adding ingredients to salads and such. So the only bottleneck might be the food supply to use to cook. However, you can always mass cook insects, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but a famous man once said, it just works. You can also do stuff like cutting animal meat, cooking it, adding it to a soup, cooking the soup, and splitting the soup into balls. That also gives XP, all of those actions. In general, your first 3 levels can easily come from TV and VHS. Electrical, that one is a hassle. You get pretty small amounts of XP from dismantling electronic devices. This means that the best way to get huge amounts of XP is to find a store with cameras, appliances, TVs and other scrappable items. If you can't find any, you're left with looting zombies for digital watches and collecting random stuff like TV remotes and such. Glassmaking is quite straightforward. You'll need some crafting magazines to unlock necessary recipes, and then you just want to make glass panes, break them, and melt the shards to get some glass back. There isn't really many better ways to do this, as this skill isn't particularly well developed. Knapping is also quite a small skill overall, and has barely any recipes early on, so I recommend starting with the Bushcrafter trait for +1 starting level, and watching the Ancient Art VHS. Otherwise, you need to simply find flint nodules and smash them into sharp flint flakes. After that, you can pretty much just make stone blades out of said sharp flint flakes. What's important is that most recipes are obtainable by reading magazines, so it is unlikely you'll need knapping above level 5. Masonry is currently disgusting to level, as the only recipe available at level 0 is crushing large stones with a pickaxe or sledgehammer, or alternatively, if you want to go through that whole process, you can take the pottery path and make ceramic tiles. Out of those, you can build tile floors for the same XP. After the initial suffering of that, you can fortunately use the stones to craft stone blocks and then build with those. It's still a grind, but way smoother than the first part. So if you want to grind masonry, you really I really want some starting levels. Mechanics. That one is quite easy, though time consuming. As for high efficiency, you want to get multiple vehicles to work on, alongside the cars you use normally. Preferably one of each type: heavy duty, sports and standard. You want to simply uninstall and reinstall each part once from each vehicle every day. There's a mod that automates this. It is called Auto Mechanics, and it's updated to B42 stable, so you can use it freely without worry. I don't recommend you try this on your main car, because at low level the chance of damaging your car is pretty high. Get some expendable cars instead. Failed installation or uninstallation doesn't consume your quote-unquote daily charge, so you can repeat it until you succeed. Pottery. This skill is meant to be a secondary one to help you with Masonry, Blacksmithing and Glassmaking, so, well, you don't really get any benefits from getting above level 5. But if you want to get there, you basically need a kiln and a bunch of clay, which you can randomly find across the Nox country, in some unspecified locations, in loot or just by foraging, especially near gravel roads. Clay mugs are the most efficient recipe, so you probably wanna do that if you just want to level up. After that, well, you get access to crucibles at literally level 1 and a glass blowing pipe at level 2, at which point you're basically done. Clay mugs remain the best recipe throughout the whole leveling process. Tailoring has two methods. One is an exploit, one is a legitimate method, but it's a little bit tedious. For the first one, you want to get to tailoring level 1, either with the sewer trait or by applying and removing padding from clothes. Then you want to obtain a bunch of rags and some burlap pieces, at least 2. Turn all rags into thread with a needle and then infinitely craft and rip apart gunny sacks. This is not legit, but it works in B42 stable for now. The legitimate method is finding a long dress or an apron and applying a bunch of patches/padding to every part and then removing them. It's not very fast, but it doesn't really cost you anything, so you can do that at almost any point of the game. Finally, last but not least, we have welding. The general method is to dismantle car wrecks until level 2. It is the only possible welding dismantle action that gives you experience. After that, you can make scrap metal knives until you hit welding 4, at which point, assuming you got the welding recipe magazines, you can start making metal sheets, which will carry you to level 10. If you cannot find a recipe magazine for those, there's 2 options. 1. Wait until welding 6, which auto unlocks metal sheets, or take the welder occupation to start with all recipes. On that note, I recommend you take welder if you want to hard focus on the skill, because +4 starting levels and all recipes unlocked, those are insane bonuses. Alright, yeah, that's all the skills. Let me know in the comments below if it was helpful, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. Have a great day.